So we're going to take a look at our standards-based gradebook here at Family Access. So Test SBGB is the name of our student. So I'm looking here that they're enrolled in a math class here. The teacher's name is Michael Baird, and you see the student's grade here displayed as you traditionally would. Now, if I click the arrow, it will drop down, and what we see here on the left are all of our power standards, and our indicators. So we grade on standards throughout the course, words are exact things that the students are measured on. So instead of just getting an overall, you're at a 76%, they get a score on specific items throughout each content area, which allows them to have better chances to improve throughout the year. So we take a look at this first one. If I click on the little arrow with the question mark, so I have problem solving, PS1 stands for Power Standard 1, choosing the correct strategy. So we're looking for kids to choose the correct strategy to try to solve a problem. If I click on number 1 here, this exact skill we're looking for is construct one representational form from another and or use the correct form in problem solving. So if I look here, that indicator was scored on summative 1 on this date. It was on a variable summative on that date and a variable formative on that date. So our formative assessments do not factor into the overall grade, but those are used to determine how well a student is doing for the full year. So you can see this student received a 2 and a 3, were scored on a 1 through 5 scale, or 0 through 5 actually. So 5 is the top we can get. The 3 is our proficient. 2 is slightly below basic. So essentially, and those work their way up. So mostly 3s would be a B, mostly 4s would be an A, and so on and so forth, kind of working up. Anytime you see the books, that means that that specific standard has not yet been assessed. So I'll go ahead and minimize that one. So if I look down here, I have my scores for problem solving. So if I look here, students can solve a mathematical process question that was scored on summative 1 on this date. So if I had a question, here's where my son or daughter did well on that date. If I'm looking on summative 1, I also did. Students can evaluate a mathematical equation using a specific value. So anything below a 3 would be an area that you want to address with your son or daughter. So if I'm looking down here, if I see a 2 here, if I click on this, students can use a mathematical tool in the problem-solving process correctly. This would be looking for a calculator, protractor, thing of that nature. They scored a 2, which measures at our basic level on this summative, so that'd be one I'd want to address. Again, anything with the books means it has not been addressed yet. That's one that we will get to in the future. You also see down at the bottom, we have our work habits. Work habits kind of tell how your son or daughter is performing in the class. What are they doing? So in terms of productivity and accountability, are they producing things at the end of the day? Are they accountable for the actions, things like that? Communication and collaboration, how are they working in groups? How are they talking with their classmates? Things like that. Initiative, perseverance, and self-direction. How are they doing without teacher direction? We try to have a lot of collaborative self-inquiry environments where the students are responsible for kind of putting themselves out there and trying things, and then leadership and responsibility. So on this example class I threw in, this student has received 1s on everything, which is below basic, which means they have some work to do in the work habits area. For one class, and if you had an overall long look here, you'd scroll down and see many classes for your son or daughter.